creation of the housefly. It's kind of a, I don't know, touchy subject. Well, that one was a little, I was taking a shit.
So Chris comes to me with this idea of doing a horror movie. And I thought, that's great, you know, let's do this. And him and I started working together, and we really wanted this horror movie. But the longer we worked on it, the more we realized all we were doing is making fun of horror movies. But it was so damn funny, we said, you know what, we got to go with this.
I saw one image of a guy being chased around a house by a housefly, of all stupid things. I've had experience, you know, get pissed off at the pesky flies, you know, use rubber bands on them, all the things that were there. So I kind of had some insight into lunacy that could be made by, you know, killing a housefly.
The housefly ended up being a spoof of those really horrible movies from like the late 50s, early 60s, kind of tongue-in-cheek, over the top.
What I was thinking of is pretty much the way it ended up in the show. While doing my business and coming up with the idea, it was just in segments, like the original. So you're just sitting there seeing the scene in your head.
So the housefly basically got broken down into all these scenes, and deciding an order is something we pretty much came up with after the fact. We went all out on this thing. We wanted a full house set for the housefly, not just a room. We wanted what looked to be an entire house. So a day and a half to set up the set. It took us another 2 to 3 days to actually shoot the movie, and then another full day to tear everything down and put everything back together.
We're inside Todd's parents' house here, and which is hot anyway, with fans, without them, whatever, it's still hot. And so we're doing a production inside a house.
My parents were out of town, they were actually out of state, and we were going to use my parents' house to shoot the housefly. So we knew we had to fit everything into these 5 days. So that meant putting up the set, getting any last-minute props, setting up cameras. Everything needed to be done in these 5 days.
Hey, did I mention it was hotter than shit?
That particular summer, I mean, it was hotter than crap.
The steaming piles of shit, you know, that's hot. No, this summer, that was hotter than those steaming piles of shit.
So most of the time we had fans running, some of it even while we were shooting.
I'm dressed as Crazy Carl inside a jumpsuit with a shirt on underneath. I've got pants on, boots on. I've got a pillow stuffed in here, and I'm walking around inside a 69 truck or something like that, inside 104, 105 degree weather, inside a house or the same, running around. I'm telling you, it was hotter than shit.
The hardest part was my mother had all these little knickknacks everywhere on the walls. And so in order to take everything apart, we meticulously went through and videotaped all the walls, every little detail, in order to put everything back where it was. You know, that was fine and dandy for me. Chris wanted no part of it. He's like, if anything gets broken, I'm not gonna get blamed for this. Like, okay, I will move the stuff. And so all this stuff got taken down. It got put in a back room that got closed off from the rest of the house.
There are several things in the housefly which were a start for, I don't know if it's a start, but something we did in this one that hadn't been done previously in Nowhere Video Productions, or some of them since then. It was the first production that was in black and white. Black and white, I felt, kind of had a needed to be done if it was going to be a parody or somewhat stylistic of the old style horror movies, you know. The Fly. And it's those kind of movies that I was making fun of, so I think as a natural, it kind of had to be in black and white. The second one is this thing needed to, if it wasn't going to have words or anything, then you need to fill it up in ways. And one of the ways that we did that was adding in our own music, which was a first for us.
I have written many songs and performed songs. I don't know how to play an instrument, and neither does Chris. So we taught ourselves how to play this keyboard enough that we could make the music for the housefly.
We got some pretty good stuff out of that, and it was still, I know some stuff has tapped out stuff in the keyboards, but for us, that was the first in that one. For the most part, I'd say 99.3% of it is without words. The whole thing was an intentional silent flick, not for its original, the original silent movie, because they couldn't just come up with audio for it. But it was something that it really didn't need to have some kind of verbal going on. I mean, it's one guy, it's a fly, an interaction between another character on there, still really didn't need to have any words. So with the exception of just a small little blip, there is really no words in the whole entire thing.
So for the first time in Nowhere Video history, we were actually spending money to make a production. And when I'm talking spending money, it was about $300. A good portion of that went to the keyboard that we used to play the musical score. That was the biggest chunk of our budget. But the thing is, that keyboard has paid for itself time and time again. I ended up using it for road trips, for meat and potatoes, and for Visions from Beyond. So it was probably the most useful bit of money that I spent as far as Nowhere Video is concerned. The rest of the budget for the housefly went into things like props, getting Chris's fake hair and stuff, the fake mustache. I had to buy a cigar of all things for Crazy Carl to smoke and blow up other objects with, and I had to buy clay for the fake nose. We had to buy the flies. I bought a roll of wallpaper, just miscellaneous stuff. But all in all, it was around $300. So, which, really, is a drop in the bucket. But it was the first time we really spent actual money in order to make a production that we had a really good feeling about, that we were really excited to produce. A main part of making a movie about flies is you have to have flies. So one of the easiest things I could think of to supply ourselves with flies is go to a thrift store, dollar store kind of thing, variety store, and you can find like little army men and stuff like that, stupid little cheap kid toys. And so we went to one of those, and we got like a whole bag of life-size flies for like a couple of bucks, and so that was great. Way more flies than we actually needed. But we still needed our hero fly. We needed something big enough that we could get close-ups and be able to have some control over. The little flies were great for background shots, stuck to the wall, things like that, stuck on the nose there and everything. But we needed that big fly. And so we couldn't find one at the variety store, so the search continues. We ended up at Fred Meyer's, and walking past the little like gumball machines there that you can you can get candy and stuff out of, and they've got one that just has all these little, you know, sticky spiders and bouncy balls and things like that. And here it was. Here was this perfect, ginormous fly that we could use for the climax of the movie. Like, holy crap, that's the one. Okay, it's in a stupid machine. We can't just walk up and buy it. So, okay, here's what we're gonna do. So I go to the service desk and I plunk down a bunch of singles or something. It's like, hey, we need quarters. So we get a stack of quarters like we just hit an arcade. We go back over to this machine, and Chris and I just start plunking in quarters. And quarter after quarter, I lost count. And we probably drained like half the machine trying to get this stupid fly out. And so we ended up with a bunch of crap we didn't need, you know, army guys and bouncy balls and spiders and worms and stuff like that. And finally, we got the fly, like, ah. So by the time we got this thing, we plunked about $6 worth of quarters into this dumb machine to get this fly. So from then on out, it was known as the $6 fly. So an important point here, just in the process of shooting this interview, Chris and I discovered something that I think we knew all along, but I don't know if we were willing to admit it. So my character, who basically we came up with the name Guy, he is the most flat, two-dimensional character you could possibly think of. I spend the entire movie sitting in a chair reading like blank books because I can't show words. So all I'm doing is reading. There is one point where I actually turn on the TV for some stupidity.
Blah. What about just plain stupid?
And yeah, all I do is read. Complete, flat, two-dimensional or one-dimensional character. I have no depth.
Director's cut versus the TV cut, or TV cut versus the director's cut. Originally, there was not two versions of this production. In one of the scenes in particular, it's Guy pulls out a can of bug spray, and one of them, there's a picture of Dr. Kevorkian, in which is Kevorkian's bug death. And we were playing around with another one, and it's like we always used other bands or other things that we liked, and I just popped off with an idea of, you know, Metallica's Kill 'Em All bug spray. So what the heck, so we had an idea for another scene, so it was just, I think pretty much at that point it was create a director's cut to kind of fill in where we couldn't go from the original TV. And then that played into the very end of the movie. Who wins? Who dies? What happens? You know, who makes it? Who doesn't? Blah, blah, blah. And so we had to create one in which the fly is the one that did it at the end, and another one in which we suspect that Guy is the one who survived, although we pretty much under later scrutiny, I guess, decided that he's pretty much killed everybody, including himself.
So because this was 1996, our limitations were definitely apparent as far as special effects. So we had to rely somewhat heavily on practical effects, doing as much as we could in camera, because in post-production there were only certain things that I could do. One of them, which you only briefly see, is the part where Crazy Carl comes in and he keeps setting everything on fire. He sets the truck on fire, he sets this buffet on fire, and yet, you know, the next scene, it's gone, you know? So it's another one of those stupid things. But the scene where he throws his cigar inside the house and he sets this buffet on fire. Well, that is actually a practical effect added to another shot. And the way that we pulled it off is we had this big sheet of black paper, and we took it out into a field and doused the thing with lighter fluid and set it on fire. Well, we actually had to do it a couple of times. We didn't realize how fast the lighter fluid would evaporate. So I'm dousing this thing down, we go to light it, and it just starts burning the paper, like real slow. It's like, this isn't gonna work. We need like a whoosh. I don't know how we finally pulled it off. We must have had to time it just right. So we doused this thing down and immediately set it on fire. And the thing just went whoosh, and it was gone. Paper was gone, but it looked nice on camera. And so I was able to take that effect and apply it over the top of this buffet. And the way it was shaped, it actually fit really nice, and it was a good effect. I mean, as far as the whole movie is concerned, it's probably one of the best effects.
Well, I'm probably blunt and straightforward. This one was probably from the start one of the ones I thought about, well, kind of to myself the most, but the hard part about that one is it's a crashing through a wall, and the idea was basically the character gets scared away, so he runs fast enough to crash through a wall, and through that crash in the wall, you see the outline of his body and him kind of running afterwards. Kind of wanted that effect originally, but even after it was shot and all edited together, it was just one of those scenes that just didn't have it. And probably my biggest thing was just seeing myself go flat up against the wall, knowing this isn't quite right and not the way that I had seen the shot at all. And it's just one of those things, you know, pretty much go for a while going, you know, it could have done it better, or if there was another way. But it ended up an actual part of the show, and well, because of that, it's a good thing. I'd always look for improvement, but hey, nobody's perfect. Okay, the ending climax. I don't know. It's a climax. I suppose that's what it's called. Probably the first thing about that one. Oh geez, knowing it was going to be a real pain in the butt, because kind of, at least from where we were at set and otherwise, kind of had a limited space when you're supposed to go throwing things around inside of a room. And it's just amazing how long the actual scene itself was in real time versus what you see in the end. Obviously slowed down, but still, you know, 15-20 seconds worth of demolish goes on for, I don't know how many seconds, a few. Started out with a small fly, a real small one. Came in like bags of flies, but small ones, real small ones, and it was kind of like a triangular black blob on a screen for the whole thing, until we finally realized that that really wasn't going to work, and so we ended up going with our Bertha fly, which just made it look all that much better. Yes, it wasn't motorized or had the real motions or anything, but you know, it still pulled itself off. Choreographing the end scene, well, not so much of a pain in the butt, but we have a certain set of circumstances that requires doing it twice, choreographing. One of the motions for Guy through the living room. Like I said, we have a small living room, a small area, so everything has to be choreographed to happen in a certain way. The choreographing for the second one was at least for the camera, to where the fly is supposed to be during this chase scene. I had several problems. Because, you know, it's like where a guy is going, if he's throwing over something, then that camera basically has to dodge whatever is flying through the air in order to get through the scene. So, not only to help protect against the pain of the one who's running the camera, but for everybody else involved too.
There were a few shots in the housefly that were difficult just from a technical standpoint, and trying to shoot things in preparation for the post-production as far as special effects. But there were other issues that we ran into. One of them, I didn't really see this coming, but because my character doesn't wear glasses and I'm practically blind as a bat without them, there was one particular shot that I lost count how many takes we got. This is, as far as I know, one of the only bloopers in the housefly. One of the things that was going to be done in post-production is to actually do a horizontal flip on the entire movie, which would make everything more or less a mirror image. So because of this, I wanted my character to basically be like me, which is right-handed. Well, in order to pull that off, I had to do everything with my left hand, including swatting this damn fly off the wall. So I roll up a newspaper, and we have one of our prop flies glued to the wall. I think we used rubber cement or something like that. And we've got it glued to the wall, and I go to hit this damn thing.
All right, go.
Damn it!
It doesn't come off.
Well,
I don't remember if I hit it the first time or not. But see, that's the other problem. Because I'm right-handed, I'm trying to hit this damn fly with my left hand, I can't hit it.
Fuck! God damn it! I can't fucking hit it. I can't use my left hand, man.
You're hitting it.
I am?
It's sticking to the wall. When you hit it, swoop down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just clean that fucker off the wall.
And Chris isn't helping. He's behind the camera laughing his ass off.
One more hit'll do it.
Fuck, man! I can't see what I'm doing. All I can see is this spot here, and I can't fucking hit it because I can't use my left hand.
I was actually genuinely frustrated that I could not hit this damn fly. And he's just laughing, just having a good old time. I'm sitting there going, whack, 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 trying to get this fly off the wall. I couldn't hit it to save my life. Finally, after, I don't know, what, take 68 or something, I finally got it.
I think this would be more on the unintentional side of these. The first one is while building the set, we had to put up a piece of sheetrock. So, and I think it's in more than just one shot, but we got this goddamn bucket of putty just sitting there, right in the shot. Once it's been seen, it can't be unseen. And so every time you watch it, there it is, as clear as day. And that goes with another one. During the spray sequence, the bug spray sequence, end up spraying them down, do the camera work, it goes to the ground, and god damn it, you see part of my leg jump out of the shot right at the very end. You know, and these are things that, you know, it's like, no matter how much you try to not make that goof, that's when it's gonna hit you. And you didn't know about it, and I think we'd already put the thing together, or at least on our way of putting it together, before it even became noticeable that my leg was still in the damn shot.
When we shot the housefly, all we had in front of us was basically a shot list or a scene list, and we would just check them off as we went. When we got into post-production, it was then that we decided what order all these should be in, some kind of a logical sequence. You know, you figure that it's going to get more chaotic the further it goes along. Obviously, the opening shot and the ending were set. We knew how we wanted to start, how it was going to end, but we didn't know what order the rest of it would be in. And there was always a feeling that there should have been one more scene. It's right after the first scene, and I swat the fly off the wall, finally, and the next scene, I'm coming down the hallway with a damn tie around my head like I'm losing my damn mind. And to me, that always felt like that should have been a few more steps down the road here when I'm actually losing my mind. And I always felt there should have been at least one more scene in there. But when you're coming up with ideas, even ridiculously far-fetched ideas for a fly to bug the crap out of you, there's only so many scenarios you can come up with. And I think we got to the point where we actually ran out of scenarios, so we had to work with what we had. Still turned out pretty damn funny, but I always felt there should have been one more scene in there.
Got the Dodge at the top of the driveway. In fact, let's congratulate the operators here.
I don't even think we need a dent in front of it, except more of an eye. Oh well, made it easier, I guess.
It's
For this.
better to have the three of us, and you know, just in case. Because I don't do this kind of shit all the time. Either way, when we actually shoot, we're gonna have to move the van somewhere out of sight.
Out of sight, out of mind. Pull it up next to your car.
Yeah, or probably anywhere on that side of the driveway. I would still feel more comfortable putting some blocks under the wheels. Oh, it's only gonna hit my car.
The brakes are fine.
Brakes work?
Yeah.
Huh. I would still feel more comfortable, guys. I mean, man, I don't want to take any fucking chances. If this thing rolls, it's gonna hit right in the front door. It's gonna come right through the front door, man. I don't want to get up in the morning. I don't want to get up in the morning and see Dodge while I'm eating my breakfast. Jesus. So,
I'd have to leave the state. Go home.
yeah.
Do it again.
Hey, you, get that stupid thing out of your mouth. That's just ridiculous.
Fuck! All for the sake of TV.
All right,
No, all for the sake of TV, folks.
Daniel smell. Let me fucking get out.
Mark Johnson as the voice of the housefly.
It was the most amazing thing I've ever done.
Okay, how much do I owe you now?
$20. No, my wallet go.
Just take them. That's all I can. Shit. God damn. Fucker. Fuck. Damn it. Good. 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 Good.
Hey, you! Yeah, you! Stupid!
And that didn't help one bit.
This is gonna be a big mess. Try not to get any of that shit down in the crack.
I think we got enough down there.
Yeah.
So 20 years later, we rewatch The Housefly, and you know, we watch it with a critical eye. It's like, oh my God, that looks like crap, you know. Or there's the shot of Chris's leg in the shot, and it's like, oh, you know, we roll our eyes, and you know, the crash through the wall. You know, that was like the hardest shot in the whole movie, and oh, we could have done that better. But you know what? It's still funny as hell. You know, it's one of the most creative things that Chris and I have done as a team, and I still have a lot of fun watching it, even all these years later, even with all its flaws. You know, it's a funny project. You know, and we had, you know, TV's cut, director's cut, we did behind the scenes. I mean, we kind of went all out on this thing, not like we'd ever done before. We did things in The Housefly that we never even attempted, and not even since. It's the first time we ever shot anything intentionally to be in black and white. Shot it with no dialogue except for one small part, and we handled it like it was a full-length production. We were actually surprised that it only ended up being about 20 minutes long. It's like, it's only 20 minutes? It seems like we spent like years working on this thing and it's 20 minutes? But, you know, it is what it is, and it's still fun to watch all these years later. And that's all I can really say about that, because I mean, this thing's going to shut off, and I don't know why things shut off. They just do. You know, you can't rely on electronics. They're just gonna, you know, they're just gonna go off. What the hell was that? I don't know what that was.